Tonight we have Holland America featuring Alaska 2022 cruises and cruise tours, as well as longer itineraries. For any of you who have not been on a Zoom call before, everyone is muted for the size of the group. You do have the opportunity to have your camera on or off. I know sometimes we don't like to have our camera on, but in this day and age where we never see anybody, I think it's really nice to be able to see faces. So if you feel comfortable, please turn your camera on. My name is Lisa Anflick. I am one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises, and tonight's travel talk is being hosted by our 6 Edmonton Cruises locations in the area of Edmonton. We started these travel talks to inspire you, to educate you, and to let you know what's happening in the travel industry and to help you plan for the future. We are now at 15 months that travel has been shut down, and I can tell you that I miss it terribly. Travel fulfills us. That's why we do it. And I know that those of you who are on this call probably feel the same way. We miss travel. I can't wait to get back to it when it is safe to do so. And I'm really optimistic that 2022 and definitely into 2023 is going to be the time where it is safe to travel again. I want to just let you know that there is a difference between traveling and planning travel. And while we are not advocating planning to go right now, we are suggesting that you think about it in the future. And there's a couple of reasons for it. And one of the most important is we all need something to look forward to. And studies have shown that part of the enjoyment of a trip is planning for it. So we want to help you look and plan for your future. Our Expedia offices are open. We do ask that you call or email your consultants to set up an appointment, just because we're trying to stick with the COVID restrictions. We are here to help you. Travel is going to be different as we go into things opening up. It will look a little bit different. There will be different requirements and guidelines. So we are here to help you with that. So what I'd like to do tonight is turn you over to our special guest, Tom Steer from Holland America, who's going to enlighten us on what's happening with Holland America and Alaska. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. This is great. It's great to see so many faces. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen here. Give me 2 seconds. Now, hopefully, within a few seconds, you will see a picture of the Wester Dam in Alaska to get the ball rolling. Let's see. Hopefully you can all see that. All righty, fantastic. So, as Lisa mentioned, my name's Tom. I represent Holland America in Western Canada. There's my high school picture, in case you didn't already see what I look like. And before I go any further, and talk about all the great stuff, the itineraries, Alaska, and more, I do want to touch on some important details, and I'm sure some things that are top of mind for many of you. And that is what we're doing in terms of our return to sail, in terms of protocols and procedures, what we have in place. Now, we're working around the clock with the CDC, the WHO, the Clear Cruise Lines. We're working on these protocols, and you can find them yourself anytime on the Holland America website. But better still, reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant. They have the latest information, because we update this information quite frequently as we get closer to returning to sail. Some of you may have seen recent news that we've just started sailing, announced that we'll be sailing later this summer to Alaska out of Seattle and also in Greece this summer. Perhaps not something you're considering yourselves this summer, but it's good to know we're actually starting the ball rolling again later this summer. And as we begin to get closer to that point, you'll be seeing more of these protocols being updated. So if you have questions, you have any concerns, or you just want to see what we're doing, you can check the website or reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant for the latest information. So Lisa touched on this at the beginning. It's fantastic to see so many of you. I mean, I would love to be there in person with you, you know, talking about cruises while you enjoy a glass of wine. Hopefully you're able to do that this evening, or enjoy something you like while you watch. But being virtual is the next best thing. I love traveling around Western Canada, speaking with fellow cruise fans, fellow Holland America fans. It's actually a cruise line that's very close to my heart, that's very dear to me. I worked for Holland America at sea as well as on land. I met my wife on board a Holland America Line ship. We named our kids after Holland America Line ships. Little Zuidam is 4 and Noordam is 7. No, that's not true. We just call them the Dam Kids. Has a better ring to it. In all seriousness, though, it's just such a fantastic product. And I know many of you this evening have cruised Holland America many times, avid Holland America cruisers. Some of you have cruised Holland America, but maybe not for quite a few years, and others not at all. You're completely new to Holland America. So thank you for joining, whichever one of those categories you fit into. For those of you who aren't as familiar with Holland America, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to what Holland America is all about before we look at those itineraries. We say we're for explorers, foodies, and music lovers. That's really us in a nutshell. This kind of sums it up. One thing we don't have are things like water slides, go-karts, roller coasters. You won't find that Holland America. There's a market for those things, but there's an increasing market of folks who are looking for ships of a decent size with a lot of variety on board, but they don't want those kind of things. They want more touches of luxury, more kind of spacious areas, more spacious staterooms, and a little bit more of a personalized touch. So that's where Holland America really comes in. There's also folks who have only cruised on very small ships, but they want a little bit more variety on board, a bit more space, a few more options. That's where Holland America really fits the bill. So with the Holland America experience, it does come down to those things that I've mentioned, the service itself, but the ships, the actual dam fleet, the dam ships themselves play a big role with Holland America, because we do have mid-sized ships, but we prefer to say perfectly sized, because there are other cruise lines that say mid-sized, and their ships have grown so big, in some cases they have 1,000 more guests on board than we would. So we say perfectly sized, because all of our ships are under 100,000 tons on average, around 2,000 guests. But it's not just the numbers, it's actually the style of the ships, that iconic dark blue hull, the wraparound teak decks. Things that I like to point out, this picture, whenever I see it, I think of it immediately. On the top left-hand side, you see some kind of sliding, a kind of sliding roof. That is, in fact, our Magradome. It's very kind of uncommon in the cruise industry. That is a sliding roof that we can slide over our pool, Lido pool area, because we're sailing 365 days of the year to all 7 continents. There's inclement weather some days, and we can just slide that over with a touch of a button. And so folks can carry on enjoying the Lido pool area and relax in that area. For other cruise lines that don't have a roof that retracts, everyone has to go down inside the ship and makes it even more crowded. That's not an issue we have. So the ships themselves are iconic, but also the size contributes to the experience. There's a lot of activities and fun and enrichment and things to do on board, a lot going on under the hood. I'm not going to talk about them all. I might mention 1 or 2, but we just don't have time. So do reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant for more information on some of these things. In terms of who's cruising on Holland America, we have all sorts of cruisers, anniversary couples, sisters, reunions, girls getaway, family groups, family reunions. We're great for the family groups, especially in Alaska, the region we're going to talk about this evening. We have groups where you have the aunts, the uncles, the grandkids, the grandparents, everyone coming to cruise. And we do have younger cruisers on board. We'll have kids on board, especially on our kind of shorter, say, 7-day cruises to Alaska. We may have 100 or 200 kids on board, but quite often you'll have guests on board saying, I haven't seen any kids. Apparently you have them on board. I haven't seen any, because we keep them all upstairs in our wonderful Club Hal area. We've got this entire deck just for the younger cruisers. And as a parent myself, of the damn kids, I prefer my kids to be one of 100 or 200 than one of 1,000 on board. So it's just great for the entire family. I mentioned that we're for explorers. What I meant by that is we have a depth and breadth with the sheer amount of itineraries and variety of our itineraries, the number of ports they go to, and the number of itineraries that is very rarely matched. There aren't many cruise lines that will be in a particular region and offer so many itineraries in that region. Doesn't matter which sector of the cruise industry you're looking at. It's something we're very proud of. And because we've been around for a long time, it'll be 150 years next year, our anniversary. We've got an experience and a know-how in regions all around the world. And we've have tweaked itineraries, created relationships around the world with various destinations, itineraries, countries, authorities and countries, to be able to do certain things that not all cruise lines are able to. So the immersion is key. The food, I mean, that's one of the main reasons everyone cruises, right? We've always been a cruise line for foodies. I don't like that word. It's not that I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of the word foodie, because I think we're all foodies to varying degrees, but we've always been known for the culinary. And I think where we again fall into a category that we're kind of there on our own in a sweet spot, to use kind of a food metaphor, is you usually see in the cruise industry two polar opposites: either very small ships with perhaps one dining room, where it's that same dining room every day, or perhaps one alternate or option, casual option. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got mega ships where there's a dining room that's the same menu every day, and if you don't want to eat in there, there are 15 paid options. With Holland America, it's neither of those things. We have the classic dining room experience where they're open seating or fixed seating, where their menus are fresh and rotate every day, different options every day. And then we have those 3 or 4, depending on the ship, specialty dining venues for something a little bit different. So it's a wonderful mix. And also, we don't hitch our wagon to one celebrity chef just for a little bit of PR. We have a team. We have 8 members of the Culinary Council. All of them kind of inject their creativity and know-how, and they have their own ideas. Each one is either a Michelin star chef, a proprietor, author, TV chef. They're just an incredible team, and that's really where the creativity and the fun comes from with our menu on board. And then with the ports, this is something that is kind of new, but it's worth. I wanted to make you aware of it, especially if you haven't sailed with Holland America for some time, because this really came out of the river cruise industry, maybe about 10-15 years ago, when river cruises kind of peaked. Folks went to try river cruises. Now they've kind of come back to ocean, because there's just so many more places you can cruise with ocean. And when they came back to us, many guests expressed a sentiment along the lines of wanting to have more up close and personal experiences in port, be able to break bread with the locals, meet local families who are restaurateurs, or learn how locally sourced ingredients are used in traditional recipes with locals, and just get out there and have that connection in terms of culinary and food, which is so important. And we do that everywhere. It's not just a case of the culinary hotspots. You might think, well, in Europe or Asia. We even do that in Alaska. There are some awesome culinary tours in Alaska. In Juneau, we do a walking tour, a VIP culinary walking tour, where you get to visit some of the top kitchens and hotel kitchens in Juneau, meet the chefs, sample those locally sourced ingredients, and kind of get hands-on. In Ketchikan, there's a great culinary tour where you can go out and see how the oyster larvae are cultivated, harvest them, sample them, then with the kelp farm, see how those ingredients are used, how the kelp is used to create certain products and produce, and get hands-on again. So it's not just Europe when we think of culinary tours. The other big part of the experience on board, I have to mention this before we go any further, is music. Music is key on board. We shook things up in the industry a few years ago. We decided to move away from just having the same old kind of music venues where you have cruise ship musicians jump from lounge to lounge on different nights, changing their jackets, putting on a different badge, playing a different type of music. We went down a different path, and it has been very, very successful. We've created purpose-built venues for professional musicians who are experts and experts in their particular genre of music, and veterans in their particular genre of music, and they perform actual music shows rather than just general kind of cruise ship lounge music. So, for example, we've got BB King's Blues Club, and these are an 8-piece band. They've all passed through Beale Street, Memphis, BB King's Blues Club, and they get the crowd on their feet every night of the cruise when they're playing. They're playing everything from Chuck Berry to Bruno Mars, Beyonce to Aretha Franklin, you name it, whatever gets the crowd on their feet. And then you've got just a short walk away, because it's called Music Walk, so everything is within a fairly close proximity, all on the same deck. Then you've got Billboard on board. This is dueling pianos. We extended out the piano bar to create more space, and it's two piano entertainers. So they're riffing off of one another, playing different styles, having laughs and jokes, lots of sing-alongs. I love this lounge because whenever I'm on board, on the first night of the cruise, I'll always go and check out Billboard on board because I love to watch folks just walk through that area of the ship where Billboard on board is, and they'll stop and look, and they'll start listening, and then they'll lean, and then they'll be there for the entire set. And then the next night, they're there for every set they play, and they're hooked for the entire cruise. It's a phenomenon that I see every time. And then Lincoln Center. Now, this is classical recitals performed by an ensemble who are from Lincoln Center, the kind of #1 institute for classically trained musicians in North America. And they are playing classical recitals and fusions. So it might be Buck meets Beyonce. They'll do a New York set where it's Stan Getz and Billy Joel and Alicia Keys mixed in a classical style. What I love about Lincoln Center is it's the perfect venue for when you've come back on board ship from the day's activities. If you've been ashore, you maybe relax, kind of get refreshed, then get changed for the evening. And I just love to grab a cocktail and just go and sit in Lincoln Center stage and let their performance just wash over you. It's almost meditative. So music on board is phenomenal. I'll touch on the other venue a little bit later. I want to get into some of this other stuff. Oh, and the service, we've been known for service for a long time, not just in the cruise industry. Our name gets checked in other sectors as an exemplary level of service. But I just want to send a big shout to our crew members in the culinary department, the housekeeping department, the beverage team, because they're winning hearts and minds for us every single cruise. And I know a lot of you out there who've cruised Holland America are smiling and nodding right now. It's our crew members. So the damn fleet themselves, I'm not going to talk about every damn ship. I don't have time to. I just want to mention one ship because she's about to enter the fleet. She's on schedule to join later this year, the Rotterdam. She becomes our new flagship. She'll in fact become the 7th ship to bear the name Rotterdam. She's the 3rd in the Pinnacle class, a class of ship that has been welcomed by our mariners with open arms. The ships are absolutely beautiful, still just under 100,000 tons, so not mega ships there. They're only really 15,000 tons larger than our previous kind of class of ships. So the Rotterdam is a gorgeous ship, packed full of all the regular Holland America features you come to expect with a few extras. Here's a few kind of sneak peeks and a few shots around the ship. I'm not going to stop on any of these, we just don't have time. But look at that wonderful open, fresh dining room space. I'll take you around some of the staterooms here. There's a couple of shots here. Look at that beautiful accommodations. If you want more information about the Rotterdam, you'd like more information about Rotterdam, reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant because they are getting the updates as we closer to sailing. They're getting all those updates about Rotterdam as we get closer to that point. And right now she's actually back in the yard. She is built. We're 95% there with Rotterdam. She's on schedule. She's in the yard in the Fincantieri shipyard in Mestre, just outside of Venice. She just completed her sea trials and she is ready to go, in great shape. So yeah, she'll be coming along very soon. So I would like to talk about all 500 itineraries, but I know that just isn't possible. And you'll be here till next Tuesday, or sorry, next Thursday. But we're going to talk about Alaska mainly, then we'll touch on a few other bits and pieces. Alaska is something we've been known for a long time. That's why we say we are Alaska. Doesn't matter whether it's by land or by sea, you are with the experts. There's a reason why we win awards year after year. We've been sailing there and operating there for a very long time. When it comes to the land portion, even since before Alaska was a state. So we have the experience, we have the deployments in Alaska, in Western Canada, for most travel agents, for most cruisers, most folks in the industry. When they think of a cruise line that visits Alaska from Vancouver, it's Holland America that comes to mind. The same for Seattle. We dedicate in most years, not every year, but most of the, I would say, out of the last 5-10 years, most of those years, we've dedicated practically half of our fleet to sailing just out of Vancouver in one way or another. Most of those ships will go to Alaska, and then there are other ships out of Seattle. So we're dedicated to the region, and there are several different options. So these are some of those accolades, awards and accolades, which we're very proud of. We are rated best in Alaska, and Glacier Bay plays a big part in this, and I'll touch on that in just a second. But these are some of the other reasons we're known. We're known as the go-to Alaska cruise operator, as it were. But the first thing I want to mention is the fact that we have more time in Glacier Bay, and we visit Glacier Bay more often because we have more permits. Now, you may think, well, why should I care how many permits you have? And I'm not going to bore you with the details, but essentially, the cruise operator that received the second highest amount of permits was half the amount we received. To put that in kind of a perspective, it's equivalent to if you were looking to visit a port on land and you had a choice of going with 3 different cruise lines to that region. One didn't visit that port at all. The other visited it for 2 hours, maybe 90 minutes, and the other one stayed all day. The one that stays all day is going to give you the most value. That's what happens with us in Glacier Bay, because we have all those permits. We can stay for longer, so you don't just get one glacier viewing experience, you get multiple glacier viewing experiences, more opportunities to see wildlife. Because if your ship isn't sailing in Glacier Bay for that day of the cruise, they're not going anywhere else, they're just out in the Gulf of Alaska, and you're paying for that day. You know, there's a certain amount of dollars per day, right? Is you're getting more value if you're spending that time in Glacier Bay, and it's all narrated by the park rangers, by our onboard naturalists. So you're getting so much enjoyment when you're in Glacier Bay. As I say, more glacier viewing opportunities. There's some big news when it comes to the ship that's sailing Alaska itself, or one of the ships, and that's why this little fella here is giving the ship a round of applause, because our Koningsdam, one of the Pinnacle class ships, is coming to Vancouver. Now, you remember that ship Rotterdam we just talked about, the brand new Pinnacle class ship? Well, this is her sister, her slightly older sister by a couple of years. She's one of our new Pinnacle class ships, and she or any of the Pinnacle class ships have not yet sailed out of Vancouver. They've never been to the West Coast before, so this is very exciting. Not only do you get the opportunity to visit Alaska with the experts for all the reasons I've just mentioned, but you get to experience one of the Pinnacle class ships. So even if you're not ready to sail in Europe yet, because that's where the Rotterdam is, you can sail a Pinnacle class ship, her sister, close to home, out of Vancouver. And we're not just bringing a new ship in for a couple of dates, you know, as a showcase. She's there every Saturday. She's small enough to get under the Lionsgate Bridge every Saturday. So lots of opportunities. And besides Glacier Bay, there's some other reasons why you get so much value when it comes to the Holland America itineraries themselves. In ports like Juneau, we, in almost 99% of cases, will have the premium berths 1 and 2 in Juneau, where we're docked downtown. So you step off the ship and you're downtown, walk right off into the square in Juneau with everything right there. The other cruise lines have to either dock in berths 3 and 4, which is a 15-20 minute walk or a taxi ride, or out of the container port, which is a shuttle in. So you're getting more time because you're right there, and so more value as well. So that's the Koningsdam, and she does have those music venues plus that other lounge I didn't mention earlier. So in addition to those other 3 lounges, you've got Rolling Stone Rock Room. Now, Rolling Stone Rock Room is classic 60s, 70s, 80s rock. Think the Eagles, think Led Zeppelin, think Fleetwood Mac. Kind of, you get the picture, right? So classic pub rock, and that's all happening while you've got options of BB King's Blues Club, Lincoln Center. It's just Billboard on board. So much going on music-wise. There's some other new venues. Holland American Mariners, take note. If you haven't been on a Pinnacle class, we have a second coffee shop. This is the Grand Dutch Cafe, where it's a kind of an authentic kind of Dutch experience, because obviously we have that European heritage, that Dutch heritage. We can do this in an authentic way. We serve Dutch treats like crepes, pastries, coffee and tea served on royal earthenware, Dutch lagers, all in this wonderful kind of area that overlooks the atrium. So you kind of see the hubbub and this kind of exterior viewing portion. And the dining room is just gorgeous. I think looking at a wonderful open kind of fresh space like this is very reassuring for us when and folks who are looking at returning to sail, and they want kind of spacious areas. You don't want to kind of cramped small areas. That's why ships like the Pinnacle class and the Holland America ships are so popular, because of that space. So look out for the Koningsdam, summer 2022, sailing the round trip Saturday 7-day Alaska Inside Passage. But that's not all we do with Alaska. You've got those land and sea journey options. So I'm going to break this down for you. I don't want to overwhelm you with all of the options because there are dozens of options in terms of the type of land and sea journey you take. I'll just break it down into some kind of basic categories and kind of propose some various ways of doing it. So first off, you've got the DENALI land and sea journeys. Then you have the Yukon and DENALI. So the land and sea journeys fall into those two camps, really. This is kind of the entire region that we visit. I mean, we'll go as far north as Fairbanks, Dawson City. You've got land and sea journeys that will run up to 16, 17 days in some cases, or as short as 10 days. And I'll show you those in just a second. A lot of it will center around the Denali National Park and the McKinley Chalet Resort. We'll get to that in just a second. So this is kind of an example of what we call a triple Denali. So these two, this chart underneath, that represents the same land and sea journey, first going southbound and the other one going northbound. They're the same. So this is kind of the first thing you have to decide. Do you want to go cruise first or land first? There's no right way to do it. I find a lot of individuals will opt for land first. I think there's something reassuring about getting on the ship and relaxing. You've done the land portion, then just get on the ship and relax. But there's really no right way to do it. You will see that this is a triple Denali, and I'll touch on that in a second, because you can do a 1 day in Denali, you can do a double Denali, or 3 days in Denali. We recommend at least 2 or 3 days for a few reasons. And I'll get to that in just a second. But you can see here the various aspects of the journey. The green line is our deluxe motor coach. Now, that motor coach is wonderfully spacious. And then from Anchorage through to Denali, you arrive on the McKinley Explorer. Now, the McKinley Explorer is awesome. There it is, going over Hurricane Gulch, just outside Denali there. And these rail cars are fantastic. This big open top, dome-topped roof with anti-glare, non-reflective glass. You get to get those pictures. Wonderful service, very spacious, and you get to just arrive into the McKinley Chalet Resort and Denali National Park in style. So that is one kind of piece of the puzzle. And the Denali experience itself, like I say, is centered around the McKinley Chalet Resort area, or our McKinley Chalet Resort, and the kind of hub of that is Denali Square. I'll show you a picture of that in just a second. But going back to the length of time you spend in Denali, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 days, another great reason to spend 2 or 3 days, aside from just having more time and you know, optimizing your chances of great weather, because obviously weather can change. You want to get that viewing of the great one, of Denali itself. So the more days you have, the more opportunities you have. But on every 2 and 3 night stay, if it's a double or a triple, you get the Tundra Wilderness Tour included now. Now, the Tundra Wilderness Tour is the highest rated tour. That's why we include it. It is the best chance of seeing the Big Five. It's akin to, you know, an Alaskan safari. So that's included when you take a little bit more time there. This shows you the map of the Tundra Wilderness Tour compared to the kind of Denali Natural History Tour, which is offered by other cruise operators, which has kind of slightly more limited viewing opportunities of the Big Five. That's why the Tundra Wilderness Tour is so highly rated. And just to touch on that McKinley Chalet Resort area, this is a place I love. I've been there myself, and the first thing you'll notice, oh, and by the way, this is one of our Denali suites. You can opt to upgrade to one of these suites. They're beautifully swished, but still in keeping with that kind of classic kind of log cabin feel and Alaskan feel. But this is Denali Square in the McKinley Chalet Resort, and the reason I love it, I think it just is so different from other experiences you can have in other chalet resorts in the region that are part of other cruise operators operations, is that ours is in keeping with that rugged Alaskan wilderness feel, where others do seem a little bit kind of pretty and preen, like a landscaped kind of campsite kind of aesthetic. So that's why ours just has kind of received so many accolades and received such kind of great reviews. It's the feeling of the cozy fireside pits, the fireside entertainment, the dinner theatre, Carston's public house. So that will be your hub when you're in Denali. That will be a place you'll be visiting quite a lot when you're staying at the McKinley Chalet Resort. So this is how it breaks down. So all of those things I've mentioned, this is what the Denali Land and Sea includes when it's a Denali. Now with it, when it's a Yukon, you're going to add in some extra opportunities to experience that gold rush history and kind of have that experience that is a rite of passage for many Canadians to visit the Yukon. It is our highest rated experience. This is how it looks compared to the Land and Sea when it's just a Denali. You can see the primary difference in terms of the cruise is the cruise portion is shorter. You either embark or you either disembark or embark in Skagway to connect with the land portion. And you do that by hopping on board the White Pass and Yukon Railroad, which is phenomenal. It is just such a splendid experience, whichever way you're taking, north or southbound. But the essential difference is if you're visiting the Yukon, the cruise portion is going to be slightly shorter, but then you do have those other factors or options to kind of play around with. There are options where you can do a single, double or triple Denali, for example, whether or not you include Dawson or Fairbanks. There are several options out there. So reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant. They can go through them with you and find the best value and the best kind of package that works for you. So I'm going to touch on a few areas now before I wrap up. Some of those longer cruises. I want to quickly make mention of Europe because I did kind of tease it a little bit earlier with Rotterdam, and I must mention it. I worked on board ships for many years, and for me, sailing on board with Holland America in Europe was just nothing that I've seen with any other cruise line. I think because Holland America has a DNA unlike any other cruise lines, because our heart and soul goes 150 years deep in Europe. We have so many connections and relationships that are still alive and kicking to this day. So we can deliver that authentic European cruise experience, but we've been headquartered in North America for the last 40 years. So our product is designed for North American guests, our programming, our menus, when it comes down to the announcements on board, we're catering for North American clientele, but delivering that European kind of classic European feel. It's also akin to, because we know the area so well, if you were in a situation where you were, let's say, visiting a family member, a friend who'd moved to a city or a town or a country that you're unfamiliar with, and you go and visit them and they show you around like a local. That's what it's like cruising with Holland America in Europe. So many opportunities to experience Europe that you wouldn't necessarily get any other way. So some ports that jump out at me, I'm not going to run through all these ports. I know we don't have time, but every time I see this picture, I see Bruges, it just makes me think of strolling those canals, just that architecture, the smell of the Belgian chocolate, the moulin frites, the Belgian Trappist beers. Just the sights and sounds of Europe are incredible. And every time I see these pictures, these ports just start jumping out at me. I want to be on a ship in Europe. We're bringing back classic ports that we haven't sailed for some time, visited for some times. Sometimes there's some new ports, some gems, some classics. You can sail combinations of various regions. So you can do Iceland and the fjords and the British Isles on the Rotterdam. This is on our brand new ship, Rotterdam. And by the way, when we have a new ship in Europe, we don't just put it into the same itinerary over and over. It goes on a rockstar tour all over Europe, and you can combine these voyages. Speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant about this. The fjords, for example, can combine with the Baltic. This is a beautiful, longer fjords sailing all the way up to the North Cape on the Rotterdam that just fits in perfectly there in the fjords. And then the Baltic, I think the Baltic is the best place to start in Northern Europe. It's the logical next step in European cruising. There's just so much kind of a variety when it comes to art, history, culture, cuisine, culinary, language, and it's fast-paced, it's busy, but it's also relaxing. Just so many amazing places to see, and you can combine it to make a longer cruise. Like I say, these are longer sailings. We call them collector's voyages. We've already made them in our system. We've combined them, and we've already given you a 10% price break or thereabouts, around about 10%. Just speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant. If you're thinking of going to Europe, let them know what kind of cruises you're looking at. They can pull you up some options where you can make it longer. You can combine 2 areas of Europe, so you get more value, you get a price break, more opportunities to see different parts of Europe. Even with transatlantics, I have to mention this one. It's our big birthday next year, our 150th anniversary. We're recreating down to the very day the cruise length on the same ship. Well, it's 7th incarnation, the Rotterdam #7. We're recreating that very first Holland America voyage, Rotterdam via Plymouth to New York. It's going to be a cruise where mariners are coming from far and wide to enjoy it. But this can also be combined with the cruise that came before, the Baltic. So you can say do a Baltic cruise, do then the transatlantic and get that price break. This is true of all sorts of transatlantics. You can combine the Mediterranean, so many great things. So do reach out to your Expedia Cruises consultant on that. These 2, actually, I should not have included this one on the left-hand side because I'm pretty sure it's fully booked now, or it's very close to. It's our classic Holland America sailing, the voyage of the Vikings, round trip Boston. It's, you know, no need for long haul air. Northern Europe and with Greenland, Iceland, and back to Boston, a Holland America classic. Hopefully we'll have that open for 2023 soon, but you can do this 18-day version across into Boston as well on a different ship. I'm just going to dive down into the Mediterranean super quickly. Sorry to show you all that. If you haven't eaten dinner, I'm sorry to show you this picture. I'm sure those Mediterranean delights will make your tummy start rumbling. I need to mention the Mediterranean because we've got some classic ports, but we're bringing back Istanbul, one of my favorite ports in the world. It's a city so nice they had to name it twice. Just packed full of culture, sights, sounds, whether you're visiting the Topkapi Palace, the Kumkapi district, Hagia Sophia, Blue Mosque, whatever it is. Just by day and by night, the city changes perspective, and we're there overnight on every stay. We stay through to the next day. And it features on one of our East and Western Mediterranean classics, the Barcelona through Venice with an overnight stay, or the Venice round trip up to Istanbul. So you've got the glamorous Western Mediterranean, the French and Italian Rivieras, then you've got the Greek islands. You can make it 24 days. Those 2 go together, 24 days as the collector's voyage. So these are the types of longer cruises in Europe I highly recommend for great value. This one is so popular right now for 2022. And just a few more, couple more, longer but out of the West Coast. If you're thinking, well, I want to stay closer to home, we've just opened up our Hawaii cruises for spring or fall of 22 and April 23 out of Vancouver, round trip on that gorgeous Koningsdam ship I talked to you about. So some really cool options. Speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant. And then some longer South Pacific, epic South Pacific journeys. One round trip San Diego, one has a embarkation in Vancouver as well. Awesome opportunities to have kind of a bucket list experience close to home. And then the Panama Canal is back. We haven't had as many Panama Canals in the last few years. We've just opened them up for booking for spring 22 through to spring 23. We only do them in April, October, and then April for a ship that sails out of Vancouver or into Vancouver from Fort Lauderdale. So if you want to hop on board in October and extend your summer out, it's a great way to do it. Or just pack up and hop on board in April and start the summer early. This is a great way to do it. And then I must mention this. Sorry, one more. This is it, I promise. There's a 3rd ship to that Pinnacle class. Rotterdam, the brand new ship. Koningsdam, her sister. The other sister, New Statendam, is coming to the East Coast. If you fancy flying out to the East Coast to Quebec or Boston, look at these awesome itineraries that have Newfoundland. There's even one, I think this is close to fully booked as well. Don't quote me on that. The Expedia Cruises consultants can find out for sure. This one on the right-hand side, Boston round trip up to Iceland and Greenland. Just phenomenal. And finally, I have to mention this one. It's the granddaddy of them all, the Grand World Voyage for 2023. And it's a myth. It's a complete lie, a complete myth. I have to say it's a complete myth that you gain £1 for every day that you're on board, because you would be in trouble. But this cruise, it's the one everyone kind of graduates to. You may be looking at it thinking one day, make sure you speak with the Expedia Cruises team about this, because they can let you know how sometimes you can take segments of these. They can give you get organized placeholder bookings. If you're thinking about holding a place, let's say maybe it's not 23 you're thinking of, maybe thinking of 24 for the Grand World Voyage, they can make placeholder bookings, and there's lots of things they help you with these. A couple of other things just before we wrap up. we've got, if you are looking to cruise sooner, before the end of this year, before the end of 2021, I know a lot of what we've been talking about, pretty much everything, and most of you are focused further out to 2022 and 2023. We've got all those opportunities on the back burner. If you are looking for something closer, you do have an assurance called our Book with Confidence right now that you can cancel up to 30 days prior and you'll get a future cruise credit. And then there's a great promotion that we've just started, a new pricing option. So speak with your Expedia Cruises consultant about this. There is now an option for you to just take a regular kind of bare bones cruise fare with no extras for a lower rate, or you can have it all, as this is called, and essentially add our 4 most popular amenities that most frequently get purchased on board of a shore excursion credit. Depending on the length of the cruise you're on, you'll get various amounts of shore excursion credits to use. A drink package, the signature beverage package, which covers most drinks on board. Specialty dining, depending on how long you're on board, it will be 1, 2, or 3 extra specialty dining opportunities. And then Wi-Fi. We give you the most popular package, which is the surf package, to have throughout the cruise. And you can essentially upgrade to this have it all package and get that extra value. We basically add an extra amount to have it all, but that is a 50% discount from what you'd have to pay if you then stepped on board ship and purchased those things separately on board. So you're getting them at a 50% discount. And then just finally, the team at Expedia Cruises, on the team's Expedia Cruises Edmonton, and myself have put together an extra layer for you to get some other benefits on top of have it all if you choose that promotion, or the fare without have it all. You can still get some extra shipboard credit. It really depends on the length of cruise you book and the type of stateroom you're in, but it'll be up to $100 shipboard credit for the room. If you are ready to book and you're in that mindset where you'd like to get something on the books and you choose to do so in the next 8 days, you'll get some extra shipboard credit. Speak with the team and your Expedia Cruises consultant about that, and they'll let you know how much shipboard credit your sailing will qualify for. Aside from the great deals from that Expedia Cruises has and the team has, which is a lot, they have a lot of great deals, because, and by the way, you'll get a better deal booking with Expedia Cruises than you would booking with Holland America directly. Any day of the week, you're always going to get a better deal with Expedia Cruises, because they work in volume, because they're connected to that Expedia Cruises network. They have access to a volume that you do not. So we pass on savings that they pass on to you, and extra amenities that they pass on to you in many cases. So you're always best booking with Expedia Cruises for that reason. And because they have expertise, they are up to date on every cruise line and every cruise operator's latest deals, offers, itineraries, updates, and all of that kind of return to sail protocols. They're in the know. So it's their expertise, the fact they've got the deals, and probably the most important thing, the part that is priceless, is they are there for you in a pinch. They're a phone call or an email away. They're in your community, a real person in your community, you know, you can get hold of, chat to, email, and that is so vital. As you've seen in this last year or so, you know, even at the best of times, you can be traveling, a flight gets delayed, an itinerary changes, they're a phone call or an email away, and they are there to help you. They're your advocate. They are there to make your vacation perfect. So that's why it's a great idea to be working with them. So that's it from me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to Lisa. Let me see if I can stop sharing here. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Tom, for a fabulous presentation. And also thank you for your wonderful words about our company in terms of our mission, in terms of what we do for our clients. We are there for them. We do have the knowledge. We do have some Expedia wonderful pricing for them so as well. I really liked what you talked about of the have it all. And the only thing I could think about is I've been without a vacation for almost 2 years. I absolutely want to have it all anytime I go away. So just a couple questions for you. You know, Tom, I think a lot of times from the West, people say, well, I've seen mountains, I've seen snow, why would I go to Alaska? And I think what they forget is the wildlife. So can you expand a little bit on the Alaska Big Five?
Yeah, so that's the Dall sheep, caribou, grizzly, moose. Hold on, how many have I mentioned? Dall sheep, caribou, grizzly, moose. I'm missing one other. Anyone? I'll give you a bonus point if you can tell me what the fifth one is. But yeah, you get that wildlife. It's not just the wildlife in that respect. I mean, just the majesty of Denali itself. Just when you're coming in close on the McKinley Explorer, you just see it looming on the horizon. You realize how large it is, and just that perspective, it just blows you away. Yeah, the culture, the wildlife. I live in Vancouver. I'm coming to you live from my basement office in North Vancouver. You know, we have mountains. They're just like, you know, the gorgeous Rockies, but it is different. It's a different look, feel, flora, fauna is very different. You're going that much further north. You know, if you are looking at latitude, you're going that much further north. Different weather conditions. There's so much to learn from an ecological standpoint, historical standpoint. So there is so much there, and it's so close when we think about it. And I know there's many folks out there who've done a lot of other cruises, but haven't yet done land and sea. So it's on their list to kind of scratch off.
Yeah, absolutely. Alaska is absolutely, you know, spectacular and beautiful. A couple comments: eagle and orca. I'm not sure if
No,
either
it's
one
not
of
those, but
those
yes,
are.
that is a possibility.
You will definitely see those as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna after the presentation, I'm gonna pick myself.
All right. A couple questions that came up. Number of average passengers on your Alaska ships?
So our average is 2,000. So the smallest ships in our fleet, Volendam and Zaandam, they're 1,400. The largest ships, Koningsdam, Rotterdam, 2,600. The rest of the fleet, there are 6 ships that all have approximately 2,000 guests. So those sail to Alaska. The Koningsdam sails to Alaska. So around about, yeah, around about 2,000 on the high end, about 2,600. But our guests,
kind of that mid-size range.
Yeah, like I say, a lot of the other mid-size cruise lines are getting up there 3,600 guests and more. So yeah, still on the low to mid side in the premium cruise segment.
All right. There's a question about any cruising going to the Middle East, and another one about Rome to Dubai through the Middle East. Are there any itineraries that Holland America has for that?
Yeah, Rome to Dubai. We don't have a Dubai one currently. We do have a couple of sailings in the Middle East. We have a sailing that visits the Holy Land on the Volendam. Or actually, that's on the Westerdam, so Haifa and Ashdod, and that is as one of these. You remember the ship that had Istanbul, and you can combine it to make 24 days. That has a sailing that actually will visit the Holy Lands, and it's the first time we've ever visited the Holy Lands on a ship of that's a part of our Vista class, one of our ships that have so many verandas. There's 80% balconies on those ships, and we haven't ever visited the Holy Lands on a ship that had that many balconies. So that really means better value for verandas when you're in that part of the world. And our Volendam, one of our smallest ships, she's doing something called Voyages of Distinction. She's not repeating the same cruise twice. Each cruise is 14 days long, all around Europe, Northern Europe, Mediterranean, going into different types of ports, lesser known ports. She's going back to Egypt for the first time. Most cruise lines haven't been docking in Egypt, going to Egypt for about 8-9 years, and so we're really excited to be back in Egypt, in Alexandria for the Cairo tours, the Pyramids of Giza tours. So yeah, 2 ships in the region, but no Rome to Dubai at this point in time. Quite often Rome to Dubai would feature, or Dubai would feature on one of our grand voyages. So that's something to look out for.
All right. And Randy, obviously, Mr. Google has come back with the big 5: grizzly bears, moose, caribou, Dall sheep, and gray wolves.
Gray wolf, it's the gray wolf. There you go. I should have known. Okay, what's that? I got 80% score on my test, on my Alaska test. I think that's a pass.
Thank you for that, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Question about this, I think it's specialty dining. Are they included, or is there additional costs?
There are additional costs. So the dining room itself, fixed or open seating, no cost. There are, depending on the ship, 3, 4 dining opportunities. You've got Canaletto restaurant, which is a kind of Italian sharing spartiere restaurant, a Pinnacle Grill, our classic Pinnacle Grill, Rue du Sel de Mer, the Tamarind Asian Fusion. Each one has a different charge, a different fee. They range from kind of in the region of kind of $20 to $35. So actually, a little bit less than that. Some of them are open for lunch as well. So there is a fee. They are smaller in size. They're not large restaurants. So they're capacity controlled. That's why we have that alternate dining fee for those. But on the have it all, you do have those up to three dining inclusions depending on the length of the cruise. So if you're on a 7-day cruise, you'll get 1 dining. Let's say you're on a 14-day cruise, you'll get 2 dinings. A longer cruise, you'll get 3. So you may be in a situation where you don't even need to purchase them yourselves.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. There's a question. Can you do Vancouver, Yukon, Denali, Anchorage, back to Vancouver?
My brain just exploded there. Hold on. Vancouver,
So,
back to round trip
Vancouver.
Vancouver is really what you mean there.
I think that's the question that's being asked. Yes.
No, you would be flying back from Anchorage one way. So you will fly back from Anchorage. So the Land & Sea Journeys will always begin or end in Vancouver, but you will never get round trip.
But really, when you look at a map, what you see on a cruise of Alaska is just a small part. You really do need to do the land portion to do it justice. Question for you: has the Zaandam been refurbished?
She has many times. I don't know when that person had sailed most recently. Volendam has been through. Zaandam, I believe, was scheduled to go through one of our updates and dry docks in this past year. Obviously, with the pause in operations, a lot of our dry docks and refurbishments have had to be rescheduled and moved around. But I would have to double check my my kind of scheduling for our dry docks, because if she didn't in the last just before our pause in operations, she should be going in shortly after. All of our ships are coming in and out of dry dock at least every 2 years or so.
Okay. Another question about why can't you do a 14-day Vancouver Anchorage? You could do northbound and then southbound. So if you wanted a round trip Vancouver.
Well, I would say, watch this space, and that you can certainly book 2 cruises to a north, because one type of Alaska cruise we didn't cover tonight is a 7-day Vancouver to Whittier being the port for Anchorage. So you could do 7-day north and then book it a 7-day south. You book those 2 separate cruises. Your Expedia Cruises consultant can put the linkage on file, so we know you're on board for both legs. So you can certainly cruise up and cruise back in 14 days. But we don't have anything for this season coming in 2022 that is truly round trip 14 days built as one. But you can put it together for sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just wait another couple of seconds to see if there's any more questions that came in. I think not right at this time. So thank you, Tom. Great presentation. For everybody that's joined us today, although travel is currently paused, the world will start to travel again. And it really is time to start thinking about what you want to do. And it's interesting what Tom said a couple of times when you said, oh, I better not have I shouldn't talk about that one because it's sold out or it's sold out. And, as a cruise consultant, we are looking and we are seeing limited availability. And I don't want to sound pushy, but truly people have missed out on vacations for 2 years. And so the demand for 2022 is high, and the demand for 2023. You also mentioned the very flexible booking policies. So the fact that you can take the cruise with confidence and cancel up to 30 days in advance, but also remember, if you book into 2022, final payments aren't due until 90 days prior, and those final payment or those deposits are fully refundable up until that. We did get a couple questions, or another question about any beer or wine themed cruises?
Well, for me, every cruise is a beer or wine themed cruise. No, but we do have our partnership with the Alaskan Brewing Company. So we have some, Alaskan craft beer on board, on draft, on tap. But we don't have, and we'll always, and also same with wines, wherever we're sailing, we'll have local wines, regional wines, and beers in many cases, but no themed cruises. But if you're sailing with me, we'll make it work.
Well, it all sounds wonderful. I'm adding a few things onto my list that's getting longer and longer each day. We're delayed in terms of what I want to get back to. So thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time tonight. We appreciate your past travels with us. We look forward to planning your future travels. Please reach out to your consultant if you have any questions, and let us help start planning your next dream vacation. Reminder to follow us on Facebook. You can check out our YouTube channel where this and all our other video presentations will be recorded. Next week, if you're free, we are having Celebrity Cruises, 7 p.m. Thursday night, featuring 2022 and 2023 voyages. So thank you again for your time, for your business. We appreciate you, and we look forward to hearing from you and planning your next future vacation. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Okay.